All right, so my name is Robert Frere, and I'm with Data Meaning, and I'm one of the um, consultants on our enablement team. And I've been certified on server, the designer core in advanced, the server implementation, as well as the partner certifications. And I've been working with Alteryx platform for a little over 4 years now. I've spent many years in the business intelligence space, a lot of database design, business analytics, and that type of thing. And so today we're going to be focusing on Intelligence Suite, and uh, hopefully that you'll find this helpful. All right. So our overview for what we're covering today is we're going to overview Intelligence Suite. What is it? What tools are involved? How do you get it installed? That type of thing. Then we're going to look at three main areas for analysis. One is the image processing. Second is the text mining, and third, the machine assisted modeling. All right. And at this point, I want to make sure that I let you guys know that if you have an opportunity, please follow Data Meaning on LinkedIn. When you do that, you'll make sure that you get early notification of other webinars that we are holding, other video and other content that we are producing to help you with Alteryx and other associated tools like Tableau and other things such as that. So again, make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn if you get that opportunity. All right, so we'll just jump in here. Just to let you know, I've got some slides that we're going to be going over, and intermixed with the slides, I'm going to be jumping out into Alteryx itself. So we're not just going to go through slides, we're going to actually see the tools in action in Designer as well. So it's not just a PowerPoint deck here, we've got things to look at on Designer. All right, so let's talk about the Intelligence Suite. First thing I wanted to mention is that with the release of 2021.2, the Intelligence Suite tools are now included in their own separate install. Where up till now, they were installed as part of the regular Designer install. Now, what they've done to make the Designer install go quicker, and those who are interested in the Intelligence Suite tools can have a separate install package that they can do separately. It's still controlled by the same licenses, but now you'll have to run a separate install to get there. All right, and also with 2021.2, they've reorganized the tools in Intelligence Suite. Where before they had everything in two palettes, text mining and machine learning, now they've added a third one, computer vision. And so that's also what we're going to be looking at a little bit later today. But they split out the image processing from the text processing and sentiment analysis features and functionality. All right, so at this point, what I wanted to do, just to make this clear, is I'm going to hop out of uh, the PowerPoint presentation, and I want to show you what I'm talking about with the new Intelligence Suite uh, install document, or sorry, install file. So here I am at the downloads page of Alteryx. So I signed in with my account. We're Data Meaning here, and you'll see that there's Alteryx Designer, and then there's the Alteryx Intelligence Suite install. So if you are on 2021.2 and you want to use the Intelligence Suite, you're going to need to make sure that in addition to the Designer install, that you come down here into the Alteryx Intelligence Suite install file. Well, it logged me out. Let me log back in real quick. And just want to make sure that you see exactly where you need to go to get to the Intelligence Suite tools. All right, and logs me in here. Going back to Intelligence Suite. And you'll notice here then there's a separate Intelligence Suite install. You simply click on that, download it, and then you can install it separately. All right. And then I also wanted to show you the difference in the way that the Intelligence Suite tools are organized. So over here, I have Alteryx Designer, and I have it for version 2020.4. So this is not the latest, not 2021.2. So you'll notice there I've pinned these two palettes to the left side here. So what you can see is prior to 2021.2, we had machine learning palette, which has the assisted modeling information here. And then we had the text mining palette as well. And within the text mining palette, we had these three tools, the image template, image to text, and PDF input that would do that image or PDF processing. And then we had these four tools from sentiment analysis over to word cloud that would manage the sentiment text mining type of analysis that you can do here. All right, and then starting in 2021-2, we have here the text mining is now only limited to those sentiment and topic modeling and word cloud tools. The machine learning, in addition to the assisted modeling, it has some more tools in here that are, I think, really pushing towards the data prep area. And then we have this new palette called computer vision, and it has some more enhanced tools for handling the PDF input and all that. All right, as a matter of fact, I'm going to take this guy here and delete that so we can put that together ourselves here in another minute. All right, now if you have any questions, I don't think I mentioned that. If you have any questions, we have panelist, one of our Alteryx aces is online, so he can help you to answer those questions. You can put those questions in the Q&A area, and he will help you with that. Also, feel free to contact us here at Data Meaning, and we can help you, especially here if you have questions about how to use Intelligence Suite. We'll help you as quickly as we can possibly do that. All right, so that's the install and the organization of the Intelligence Suite tools. That's one of the things I wanted to make sure I relayed to you, because sometimes when you see Intelligence Suite talked about, you want to know what all is involved there, right? So hopefully you understand now that there are three main areas: image processing, the text processing, sentiment analysis area, and the assisted model. All right. So we just talked about this, so I won't go into more detail here. I'll leave this up for a second for you to read, but those three sections are what we're focusing on in our Intelligence Suite overview that we're looking at today. I will say that with the release of 2021.2, there were some added features that we're going to be going over. Some of those today, and some of those we're going to wait for the session 2 on Intelligence Suite that we're going to hold next Thursday at this time. And so if you remember to sign up for next Thursday's webinar, and we're going to go over a little bit more detail, some of the new things, but we're going to integrate and we're going to talk about and use as examples 2021.2 in our examples today. All right, and everything that I'm talking about today can be done with the older versions of Designer as well, as long as you have the license set up for the Intelligence Suite. All right, so let's first talk about the PDF image processing. Now, I've done a slash here for PDF/image processing because prior to 2021.2, they called the input the PDF input, but now it's called the image input because in addition to simply being able to process PDF documents, other types of images are also able to be brought in to Alteryx and made into text from different types of images, not just PDFs. All right, so here along the top, you'll notice that I've got the icons here for the tools, whether you have an earlier version than 2021.2 or 2021.2. These are the different icons here that are going to handle the PDF input. Now it's called the image input tool, but it still works for the most part very similarly. The idea here is that you're going to designate with this tool the folder that's going to hold the images that you want processed. All right, so very often here you're going to have a folder that's dedicated simply to all of the images that you want to bring in. So if you have a set of 100 or 1,000 PDFs that you're bringing in, you would want to point this tool to that directory and allow it to bring in those PDFs. All right. Then at the same time as you're letting Alteryx know about where the location of all your images are, you're also going to want to set up use this tool, the image template, to set up and to annotate what columns that do you want pulled from your PDF or your image. Where are they located physically on the page, so that you can, Alteryx knows what to process and how to bring in those columns. Because for the most part, I think one of the things that I think is key here to understand is that Alteryx is going to be, these tools here in Intelligence Suite are going to be using a optical character reader, an OCR type of technology to examine your images and to pull them into Alteryx as text. Now, this is different than, there are other tools, and I'm going to show you one when we go back to Alteryx here in a little bit, where if your PDFs are primarily text-based as opposed to image-based, you can use some of these other tools to pull in the text from your PDF and to process it within Alteryx. And those are available either on the Alteryx Public Gallery is a good place to find those, and you can certainly use a download tool and pull things down yourself as well. So those are some different options there. So one of the things that we're also going to point out when we go to Alteryx Designer is that the annotations, when you set up your annotations for your document, one of the things that you can do is you can export that annotation to a drive on your computer, and therefore once you've created that annotation and exported it, then the next time you want to process a series of images with the same template that you just created, you can simply import that template, and you don't have to go through the task of individually creating each one of the annotations that you need for your document type. So this is something that can be helpful, and just to make sure that I like to do this when I've created what I think is the final template, right? I want to export that just in case I mess up somewhere and I can bring it all back at once instead of having to rebuild it from scratch. All right, so the image template tool is how we're going to build our templates so that we can process those images that were set up in the image input or PDF input tools. All right, then we have the tool that is sort of the crossroads between these two, which is it takes the images that you designated the directory for, and it takes the template and it processes each of the images based on the template that you've given it. So it'll bring in all of those images, process them according to your template, and produce for you in the different columns that you've set up, that you've annotated, it'll interpret the data and put the data out there for you. All right, so that's what we're going to use, is those 3 tools to accomplish pulling in of images into Alteryx for further processing. All right, so now we're going to do a practical exercise. We're going to go ahead and go back to Designer, and we're going to look at how to build a PDF processing workflow. All right, so here I am in Designer. This is, again, 2021.2. If you are using an older version of Designer, you can do the same things, but you're going to find these tools that we're going to use in your text mining palette as opposed to the computer vision palette. All right, so the first thing then we want to do is we want to go ahead and grab our different tools, and we'll go ahead and bring those in onto our canvas. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to grab my image input tool. I'm going to bring that onto my canvas, and we're going to select the folder that it's going to use for this particular workflow that we're building here. So I'm going to go ahead and go in and browse just like you would normally into documents. Mine is in the Alteryx, and then Intelligence Suite. All right, PDF creation, and then into the PDF folder. All right, so that's going to be the location of all my PDFs that I've created, and this is going to be my, we call this my customer in. All right, now that's my image input. Now, if you want to, when you are selecting the directory, maybe you have some JPEGs and PDFs all in that same folder. You might decide that in this case, I only want to bring in a certain type of image. So you can come down here and use this option and go to only include specific file types. And in our case, our file types is going to be PDF. So in this case, it's only going to use PDF. All right, if you wanted to use JPEG as well, you could choose PDF and JPEG. But for ours, we're going to just use the PDF inputs. All right, now we're going to go ahead and grab the image template, because we need to define to the Alteryx, to the OCR engine, what is the field that we expect it to pull from this document that we're creating here. All right, so to do this, I'm going to go ahead and open up a file, and going to select from my Intelligence Suite folder. I'm going to select my PDF creation, and here's one of my PDFs. So I have this one separate from the others, so that way I can just choose one. This could be part of your main image directory, but I have mine in a separate directory here. Gonna bring that in, and then I'm going to make my configuration window larger so that we can see this. All right, so this is obviously not the most complex of PDFs, but it will serve our purpose. So now that I've got these here, what I want to do is I want to designate the various columns of data that I want to pull in. So what you do to do that is you simply go to the area. In this case, the company name is listed here. I then make a rectangle by putting down the mouse button and then sliding it over to an endpoint. Now, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that some companies are going to have much larger names than others. So if I did it, my annotation, if I let go of my mouse where I was just grabbing these characters, what can happen is in a larger name, it's going to go longer than my annotation, and I'll truncate some of that data. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a larger rectangle, bring that in. And then when I drop the mouse button, then it wants me to name this particular field. So I'm going to call this one company. All right, and then you can see here that you have different data types that you're bringing in. Everything, whether it's a text or numbers, it's going to come in as a string, right? You can also bring in images. So if you have images that you need to extract from your image file that you want to bring in as a blob into Alteryx, you can use the image designation. And new to 2021.2, and something we're going to talk about more in next week's session is going to be the table. You can bring in tables as well, and it will process the individual items in the table for you. All right, so I'm going to bring in string here. And then I would do the same thing for industry. I bring that over here, industry, etc. All right, all the way down till I finish the rest of them. Now, for the sake of time, and also to show you what else we have available, I'm going to click over here on annotations, and this is what I talked about in the PowerPoint thing. Is I can import an annotation that I've already created. So I'm going to go ahead and click on import, and then I'm going to go into my annotations directory, choose this, and you see it's a JSON file, and click open. So then it goes ahead and opens up the template annotations that I already chose. So there they are. And then I can go ahead and grab my image to text tool, bring that in. And when you bring this in, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You can look at the input anchors here. So in the input anchors, we see that we have a data input anchor and a template input anchor. So what we want to do here is we want to grab the data input anchor, and this is, remember, is our directory that has all the images, in our case PDFs, that we want to process. And then the template, we want to bring that in to the template anchor here. Then with the image to text tool selected, I go ahead and gave it, remember I called it customer in. So that tells me the image folder. And then in language, but it defaults to English. My stuff is in English, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone. And then I'm going to put a browse tool here at the end. All right. So then when we run this, Alteryx will go ahead and it'll open up all the PDFs that are in this image folder. And then it will process it with that template that we've set up. Now, these PDFs are rather simple. They're only one page, and I have 35 of them in here. So this will give you a little bit of idea. It's not like lightning quick to do this, but if you have 1,000, and if there are many pages, you need to recognize there's going to be some time allotted to processing these images, because remember, it's going in there, it's taking the annotated area, it's using OCR technology to take that image, decipher the words and numbers that are in that image, and then bring them out as text. All right, while we're waiting here, Talis, were there any questions that you saw that we needed to answer out loud here?
No, Robert. For now, we just had one question around, actually not a question, but one person that was not able to see the machine learning, computer vision, and text mining tool palettes. But but that person is on 2020.4. So what I told her is that we only have machine learning and text mining tool palettes on that version, and computer vision is now available on your current version.
All right, thanks, Talis. That's exactly right. You're only going to see the computer vision folder here under the 2021.2. If you're using the anything earlier than 2021.2, then what you're going to do there is you're going to see it in text mining. And in this case, I'm not going to rebuild it right now, but just to show you, you would have your image template, your PDF input, and your image to text tools. you would use these corresponding tools in here, and you would connect them together just like we did over here in our 21.2. All right, these tools will do the same thing as we are doing currently in this in our mechanism here. All right, so now that I ran the workflow, and I should have cached it so it doesn't take us longer the next time, because what I want to show you here is that the data, in addition to giving me the information on the images that I processed, it also tells me that it gives me a column for each of the annotations that I selected here. So you see company, industry, 10-year activity expanding. So I've got all of this information here, which gives me, that's what I wanted from this process. All right, but you see also we've got some of these red triangles or embedded new lines in here. And you also might have some white space and things like that. So one of the things I'm going to do is just real quickly, I'm going to put together a couple tools that you might use to get the data in a way that you want it to be. Right, so you can get rid of here the path, file, page, and customer in, because I want just the actual data from those images. So I've got them listed there. Then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab my data cleansing tool, and I can grab the data cleansing tool, and you see that I've got leading and trailing white space. If I also click here on my tabs, line breaks, and duplicate white space, that I want to remove all those unwanted characters as well. That'll help me get rid of the new lines in there. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an auto field tool, because with the auto field tool, remember that all my data is coming in right now as strings, right? So if I look at metadata, we'll see that all of these are strings, even though tenure is a numeric and number of licenses is numeric. Right now, it comes in as a string. So using the auto field tool, it'll go ahead and do that for us. All right, so then I'll just go ahead and run this, and we'll jump back into our PowerPoint. But when we come back, we'll see that this is processed. This will only take about a little over a minute, but that's a little bit of airtime that I can go back to our presentation and use it there. All right. So going back to our presentation and moving forward, the next area that we're going to give an overview of is the text mining. So remember what the text mining is. That includes the tools that are the sentiment analysis, the text pre-processing, topic modeling, and the word cloud. So all of these are different tools that help you take your inputted data. Maybe it's survey results, or maybe it's a social media posts, and you're trying to figure out more information for your company based on what feedback people are giving. Or it could be an internal, right? Maybe this is an employee um, satisfaction survey that was sent out, and you're trying to process this without having to look at each word humanly. We can use these tools to help us to gain an idea of what's going on in our feedback. So if we look here, we've got our text pre-processing. This tool, its main function is to try to get rid of words that aren't going to help you understand things about it, right? So words like the, right? If the fact that somebody put the word the in their survey response doesn't really help us understand whether they're happy or unhappy or whatever. So those kind of words, they call them stop words, you can process out here. Sometimes punctuation is not important, but other times it might be. So you can choose for your own business case whether you want to get rid of punctuation. Another thing that you'll notice over here is that they have the convert to root word. So where you may have different variants of a word, that what Alteryx will do here is instead of having, you know, the word spelling, it would get rid of the ing and they would have the word spell, right? So then you're more likely to get matches there, and more words that are going to come in as being repeated multiple times are going to come in if you use that converted to root word concept. So that's one of the things you can do with the text pre-processing. One of the other things that I'll mention here is that the text pre-processing, while it is very helpful, I think, for the word clouds and some of our other topic analysis, it actually is discouraged if you're actually going to use sentiment analysis, because a lot of times in the sentiment analysis processing, what you want to do is those punctuation marks and those particular words that people use. There can be a lot involved in those words that are important for people to understand, right? So the sentiment analysis, what it does is it takes your input and it looks for words that are going to be more positive, words that are more neutral, and then words that are negative words, right? It also will include things like sarcasm is something that for the sentiment analysis tool, it's not going to understand that something is someone is using sarcasm, right? If somebody said, "Yeah, this is the greatest training ever," and they meant it in a sarcastic way, the sentiment analysis is going to look at that as a positive response. So it's important to know with sentiment analysis that just because it can look at words and process them and give you a lot of good feedback that way, the sentiment analysis tool is not comprehending the words. So you always have to do your own analysis along with it and make sure that the responses and results you're getting with the sentiment analysis tools are what you are expecting. All right. It even takes into account things like emojis. If somebody puts a happy face in their response, that's going to be something that the sentiment analysis is going to take as a positive response. All right. And then so that's sentiment analysis, or the other thing here is topic modeling. So topic modeling is a little bit interesting in that when I was first looking at this, I thought that the idea would be is you want to be able to decide what topics are in your text and then have Alteryx organize the different words and responses underneath those topics. But it really doesn't work like that. In the topic modeling tool, what it does is you feed in the data, and Alteryx, using their built-in algorithms, will determine what words are related together based on frequency, usage, all of those types of things. It goes ahead and figures out what words make good topics together. All right, and then they give you two different types of outputs. We're going to look briefly at both of those: interactive chart and also a relevance summary. All right, so those are the things we're going to be looking at there. They give you different dictionary options. If you in the topic modeling, you can get into details as to how you want your data to be organized and categorized, and so the topic modeling will give you those options. The last part in this section is the word clouds. So if you've ever been to, I'm sure most people who've worked with data analysis for a while have seen different word clouds. What that just does is it gives you a visual look at words that are repeated often in the responses that you're getting, right? So if you're getting the word great, repeated, that's going to be the biggest word in the word cloud. Words that are used less often are going to be smaller words around the edges. All right, so we're gonna take a look at that word cloud as well. And so then we're gonna go ahead and pop on out there and look at what is available on the text mining area. All right, so I'm going to pop over here to a clean canvas. Actually, we had talked about our information. I had selected and put the data together. If I came down here and looked at my browse tool, you'll notice here now I have all my information for my various company names, industries, the tenure, activity expanding, and all of this information that can be fed in, and we're going to actually try to use that here in a little bit into our assisted modeling, that we're going to be able to pull that data in and have it create a predictive model for us. All right, so at this point, we're going to just look at the text mining and see what we can glean from this area. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do is to make things go quicker, I'm going to copy over, and this is some data that has been returned to us in a survey, right? And so different things about how training has gone, and there are some words, right? Excellent, and then there are other things where people are not so happy, just okay. So there's different groups here. Now, how do I get an overall sense of what people's responses are? All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to my text mining palette, and I'm going to grab my text pre-processing tool. All right, now connect that in. I'll zoom in a little bit, make sure we can see the anchors. So here's my data. I'm connecting it into my text pre-processing tool. Under language, this is my responses are all in English, right? And then under text field, it wants to know what field am I actually bringing in, right? So it's going to be my description field. If I want to convert to root words, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to add some stop words as well, right? So it's going to use default stop words. And that's where I was talking about things like the and those kind of things will be stopped there. All right. And then let's go ahead and take an output for this. Let's take the word cloud, and we'll bring in the word cloud here, connect it to the data input anchor on my word cloud, choose the field. Now this is, remember now that we have two text fields, because we had the descriptions which came into the text pre-processing, and then because this is a word cloud and we got rid of the stop words, I want to use the processed column. So it's important to make sure you use the column. If you want it to be the processed column, make sure you use the one, in this case, description underscore processed. All right, so there's my word cloud, and I'm going to take for now the defaults, and I'm going to add the browse tool at the end of it. All right, so I'm text pre-processing, word cloud, and then the output. All right, so then when I run this doesn't take very long because I don't have all that many rows of data, 110 rows of data. I can come over here, and you'll notice here in the browse tool configuration window, you'll notice that it has my word cloud. So what are some of the more often used words? Well, it has words like train, right? Because it was part of training. So they brought out train. Well, that's something that's I would expect to get in surveys about training. I would expect the word training to show up a lot. So maybe this one is not all that valuable for us. And things like excellent and good, that's better, right? Instructor, do I care about that? Maybe, maybe not. But so let me go back and let's take the word train, and let's go back to our text pre-processing, and I'm going to add the word train to my additional stop words, right? So if I add the word train there, and I come back here and I run it again, then what happens is it will go ahead, unless I did something incorrectly, it should go ahead and run my workflow again. And then I'll see that no longer is the word train or trainer in as part of my word cloud. So I can see then, right, if you wanted to be, I guess, a little tricky, you could take out all the words you don't like, But the idea here is, you know, you want to take out the words that aren't very meaningful to help you get a sense of how people felt about the training that they just undertook, right? So here's the word cloud, and it's tied in here at this point. All right, let me show you one other part about this, which is that if we have a one of the things about the word clouds that is nice is you can do some customizing of it, right? This is a nice rectangle, but maybe you don't want a rectangle. If instead you have a particular image that you wanted the to be serve as the background of your word cloud, you can use the blob input tool. Now this I'm going to set this into my mask on my word cloud. Now, it does get a little bit particular. I have found that if I use the blob input tool, it usually works properly. You want to make sure that the image you have has a darker background so that Alteryx will be able to recognize that it can place the words in there. So now I'm going to come back to my word cloud, customize my word cloud, and I'm going to come down here to mask, and I'm going to set that as the blob, which is the input that I have here. So now if I run my workflow, I will see that in addition to running my data, processing my data, you'll see that now my word cloud is in the shape of the state of Florida. All right, so you can customize your word clouds this way. You can also notice that in here that there are things like a background color. There's a color scheme. How do you want the words to go from what color to what color, right? And the size of your word cloud, etc. All right. So that's the word cloud. Other thing we're going to talk about right here is I'm going to talk about the topic modeling. All right, so let's bring this in. I don't want to connect it to my blob there. I want to bring this in, and I want to do the topic modeling, but this time I'm going to bring it in for my text pre-processed data. All right, and we're going to click here on the descriptions processed. All right, number of topics. This is what I was talking about. That Alteryx in the engine here is going to uh, group types of words together based on how they are used in the sentences, and so you can determine how many topics you want to have. I'm going to say 3 topics here. In this case, we're going to do an interactive chart, and then I'm going to go ahead and right click and create a browse tool on all of these. Add all browse. All right. So now when I run my workflow, and I'm going to go ahead and cache this here. This doesn't take very long, but you know those couple of seconds are time consuming. So it'll go ahead and run the process one more time here. All right. So then what I wanted to focus on here with the topic modeling tool is that you get your data out of your topic modeling tool. So we see down here in the result window, we see our numbers assigned to our various topics. So it's saying of the various words that are in here, it gives us a score for those topics. Now the in this case, the lower the absolute value, the more relevant that particular response was to the overall scores. All right. Now in the R, this one I like because this is a nice interactive report that we can get. So if we look here, we'll see we asked for 3 topic, and so we've got our 3 circles here. You'll notice the different words that are used, right? Now, if I hover over one of the words, so the word class in this case is used very highly in topic 1. That's where I can see in my little circle here, right? And if I click right here on topic 1, you see that it's got a high usage of the word class, hand. I'm not even sure what prawn means there, but we'll continue on. Enjoy, informative. So that's the topic one that was set up here. Topic two, you'll notice that it's highlighting different words. And then topic three, yet different words. All right, so if I clear this, now this goes back to the overall words that were identified as being important to the text that you have processed and how that they are associated with each other. All right, so with some fine tuning, you can start using these reports to give you some insight into the types of response you're getting. And since Alteryx is using its own algorithms to accomplish these things, you don't have the person bias that can say, "Oh yeah, everybody loves our training." And when in actuality, if they look deeper at the data, you'll see that maybe you need some improvements, and people are unhappy about particular things. You can start to make those changes inside of here. All right, so that is our topic modeling, and that is our word cloud. I'm going to not cover sentiment analysis at this point, but next week, when we do our second in our webinar series, we're going to be covering sentiment analysis along with how the new tools that are available in 2021.2, how they fit into the big picture. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that we have enough time. I'm going to take a quick walk through the machine learning. As a matter of fact, looking at the time, I think I'm going to step right into machine learning here, which is instead of going back to my PowerPoint, what I'm going to do is click on the machine learning palette. And you'll notice that there are various tools here that to help us build our own predictive models. All right, so I think there's many different ways you can use this. I think the one that works best if you're new to predictive modeling is go ahead and identify your data sets. So in my case, I'm going to copy over and bring in a couple of data sets. So we talked about our customer retention information that we did our image processing before. Now I've got it in my data here, and I want to use this to produce a predictive model of whether customers, based on various characteristics, whether they're probable to come back as renewing customers, or does their profile tell me that they're probably not going to return. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the assisted modeling tool. I'm going to bring that down here onto my canvas, and I'm going to connect my data to it here. Click on the assisted modeling tool. And one thing you'll notice right here is it says, "Hey, run your workflow so that it can get an idea of what are the columns that are in here." All right, run that through. And then now the assisted modeling tool is ready to assist you in building a predictive model. Now there are two modes you can see, assisted and expert. If you're pretty good at recognizing the different important columns and the relationship to each other, etc., you can use the expert mode. We're going to use the assisted mode, and we're going to do the start assisted modeling here. All right, so then it pops up this new window, and it's going to walk me through what type of predicted model am I looking for. All right, in this case, it's telling me the different steps. I'm going to say, all right, let's start building. Now, in this case, what I want to do is, remember, I'm looking to see, predict whether companies are going to going to come back and sign up with us again. So that is my retention is going to be my target. So I click on retention, and we see that it's suggesting that a classification model is going to be best for retention. So we're going to leave that there. I'm going to hit next. After I go past this, I cannot go back. So I'm going to say, go ahead. All right, then we got step-by-step and automatic. We're going to go ahead and click automatic. The step-by-step is just going to ask you questions that get you to the same answer as automatic. So we're going to click on automatic, click on next. And so what Alteryx does at this point is it takes the data sets that I have put in, it makes sure that they're not like nulls, or if a particular column has all, let's say it only has the number one in it all the way through, well, that's not going to be a very good column to use for predictive modeling. So it's going to exclude things like that. It's going to, things like ID numbers, right? Does the ID number of a customer help us understand whether they're going to sign back up with us again? Probably not. So ID columns are excluded from the analysis. It now has created a set for me, and it's decided on the decision tree, right, as being the right model to use. So I'm going to go ahead and check decision tree. And if you, and depending on your data, you might get 2 or 3 or 4 different choices here. You can choose which one you want to use. And I'm going to say add models and continue to workflow. And so when I do that, Alteryx goes ahead and uses the other machine learning tools, right? So I have my tools down in here, my transformation tools, my classification tools, my training tools that are all used together with my data set to create my predictive model. So you see here in my predict tool that the model that the assisted modeling tool built for me gets fed into the model section, right? Then I'm going to grab my actual data, which is my current customer roster, right? And then I'm going to go ahead, and when it comes back to me, I'm going to run this. And now that it's going to use the predictive model that it has created to, and gonna process all of my incoming data, and it's going to produce a prediction, right? Whether this particular company will be retained or not based on the data that's here. So I see that these are all false, others are true. If I added one more thing in here, if I added a filter based on whether my retention prediction is true, I can see what number of customers do I expect, given this analysis, this predictive analysis, how many of my current 1,000 customers can I expect to renew their contracts with us? And in our case, we have 843 on the true side and 157 on the false. All right, so that gives you a quick overview of using assisted modeling. In the new tools, there's also this auto ML, which is another way of using machine learning, and it actually will constantly update your model based on the data you connect to it. All right, so that's my presentation for today. I wanted to make sure if we had any questions before we go.
So Robert, the one question, I think it's an outstanding question here, is what the colors of the word cloud mean. Well, I responded to Samuel that I think it's just a way to differentiate the words, so you can customize as you want, but you know if they
Yeah.
have a
So
different meaning.
so there, though the color of the words are based on this theme that is here. So I'm on the word cloud and I'm under customized word cloud under themes. So in here there are different color schemes. So you're gonna get the colors are going to be based on the size of the words and things of that nature. So you're gonna see if I change the color, it'll give me different colors on my word cloud. Um, but now in the word cloud itself is a reason why that some are purple, some are green. I'm going to say that I'm not quite sure about that. I'll have to look that up, and if you come back for our next webinar, we'll see if I can figure out more clearly on that. But if we just ran this again, it would be different colors now. But I don't know if there's for the same size of words if we're going to end up with different colors or not. but we'll look at that next time here. I'll try to answer that. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your attendance, and I hope that you're able to come back next week and sign up for our next session in Intelligence Suite, where we're going to go over some of the new tools as well as go more into the sentiment analysis aspect of things.
If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to know when future videos are posted. Thank you for watching.